friends, it's Loz from Manatee Squares. I'm here today just to quickly show you how I sew up the sides of my panels and join my sleeves on my jumpers and cardigans. This is, what is this? This is the Ocean Drive cardigan that I'm working on at the moment. I've seamed my shoulders because you do that at the end of making your front panels, so I just need to seam my sleeve, so I thought I would just show you how I do it. I used to be a big fan of crocheting my sides together and joining my seams that way, which I still do for the top ones because you're working into the stitches, but for working into the sides of the stitches here, I've actually grown quite fond of sewing them, which sickens me to say because I never thought I would, but here we are. So what you want to do, lay your panel flat, make sure you've got your seam at the top, it's laid out flat, and then get your sleeve, find your seam at the bottom where you've got your fastened off edge and just lay it next to your body panels like this. So I mean, ideally you want to block before. I haven't because I like to block afterwards, but if you're a pre-blocker then you go ahead and do that. Just make sure it's stretched out nicely, so that's going to be a nice fit for your arm. You don't want it scrunched up, you don't want it pulled too tight because then that's just going to pull in when you start wearing it. So just laid nice flat, how it's going to sit once blocked, and find the row that your sleeve sits level with. Oh, it's falling. That it sits level with on your body panel. So I'm going to say it's this one here, isn't it? This second one down here, which is quite nice because it's going to be an easy one to find on the back because it's where this second bit of fillet sits. And just place a marker through there. So you've got that marked, which is the same depth of your sleeve. Then your sleeve can clear off for a minute. This is obviously with right sides together so that when you seam, this is all going to be on the inside. Now just get yourself a bit of yarn. I mean, how long do I want it to be? I'm going to want it to be longer than that, but it doesn't really matter if you run out halfway through. You can just use more yarn. I know, it's mind-blowing. I've got this little needle which has a little slanty tip. I think I got it when I used to make toys and stuff because I heard that it was good for joining your parts on toys with the A word that I'm not going to say because I bet I say it wrong. And I like using this needle still. Okay, so I mean, make sure you don't sew through anything else, is first and foremost. Oh, I've got my yarn stuck. Okay, so we've got our marker here, so we know that we want to seam everything up to the marker. So I'm going to join my yarn down here. What I do like to do is kind of weave in this end before I use it. So as I go through there, just like you would when you're weaving in your end, but if you do it at the start, then you don't have to come back and do it later. Up here again. Down here. Okay, and now just hold your two edges together. I'm going to go through this first row and along to here. Okay, and then I come back over this side. I know a lot of people like to go weavy weavy, but I just go roundy roundy. Those are the technical terms if you look them up. And just pick up your little row edges with your needle and go through them, pull your yarn through so it's nice and snug, but don't pull it too tight because you don't want any ruching. And just keep doing that. I mean, the bonus with a pattern like this is you can match up your pattern on either side so you can see what you're doing. If it's more of a plain jumper, you might, oh, I've got a little knot there, haven't I? Oh no, it's gone. Yeah, if it's more of a plain jumper, you might lose track of which row you should be joining with which. But if you just keep, like, hold your bottom edge like that, hold your top edge, hold your marker like that, and hold that quite nice and taut, so you know which, like, where you need to join. Or is there someone at the door? Can you hear Wally? Don't know if there's someone at the door or if someone dare pass his property. So I think the bonus with sewing, rather than when you single crochet your edges together, if you don't work enough stitches, it's going to really ruche together, like it's going to tighten up at the sides. Whereas I find with sewing, it kind of doesn't really matter how many stitches you do or don't do, as long as you don't pull it super tight, as long as you do enough that your sides are actually joined, then you're kind of all right. And it's also nicer for like for a more dainty piece as well, like especially with double knit yarn or even lighter weight yarn. If you're single crocheting your edges together, it leaves quite a chunky seam, whereas this way it doesn't. Okay, so again, just pick up and check, make sure that joining nice and evenly. I mean, this is how I do it. I'm sure there are plenty of people who would tell you that I'm doing it wrong, but I didn't ask them. I'm just showing you how I do it, so that in my patterns, if I say seam your sides and you say, how do you seam your sides? I can say, this is how I seam my sides. Okay, again, just put it tight. See, that's sitting nicely together there. We're joining quite nice and evenly. And I am a bit of a bodger anyway. I don't even mind, like, so say this row, the shell row, if it turned out I was joining it with the row above or the row below on the front, I figure no one's going to notice. Once it's on, who can even tell? As long as it sits all right on you, as long as you're not super off and really wonky, then you're going to be fine. It's meant to be an enjoyable hobby, not something you have to stress about. So just do what feels good. Okay, keep checking. Yep, we're still good. I'm not sure I'm going to have enough of this to join my sleeve. But like I said, that's okay, because I can just join more. Or even you can leave a really long yarn tail for your sleeve, so once you get up here, you've got a whole new yarn tail to use. Okay, so once we reach this marked row, which one is it? It's this one. So that's the row that I want to start joining my sleeve with, isn't it? So I'm not going to seam those rows together. I'm going to seam right before them. Okay, and then I'm going to take my marker out. I'm going to get my sleeve. Again, make sure it's wrong side that's facing you, and that you've got your seam positioned at the bottom so it sits underneath your arm. And then again, I like to lay this flat, line that all up, and then I use my marker to go through, like, find the stitch about halfway. I mean, especially when it's double knit, give or take a stitch isn't going to make much of a difference. And mark, so mark about your halfway stitch and then poke it through your shoulder seam. So then you know you want to join all those stitches with this gap. So then, look, this is getting a little bit twirly-whirly. Right, there's my seam. This is the first row I want to join, so I'm just going to go through here and find my first stitch down here and join that. And what I like to do, once I've got a couple of stitches in, so let's do another one here, is just keep hold of this. Keep hold of your marker up here so that it's constantly pulling that nice and taut, so that you can see which stitches line up with which rows, and you can just naturally pick them up. And again, I don't think it really matters if you miss the odd stitch on the sleeve. You don't want to leave loads of them open, but if you join in nice and evenly, everything is going to be fine. So just pick up a little bit from the side here, go through here, make sure you're not going through the other side at some point as well, just poke through, make sure you're only joining this bit, you're not accidentally weaving through another bit of your work and sewing your armhole up. I think joining sleeves is one of those things that I've unthreaded. It feels like a bit of a palaver, but honestly, if you just get yourself a nice flat surface, it's worse when I try and do it sitting on the sofa, obviously, because I'm too lazy to move. But if you do this, get yourself a nice little table so you can just keep it flat. The key for me is just keeping hold of the stitch marker over here so you know that everything's lined up nicely. Do you think I'll make it to the other side of the sleeve? I don't know. So I'm going to do that. And then we want to flip it over to do the other side. What way do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? I don't think I do. I think I want my sleeve at the top still so I can carry on. Oh look, it's going to be close, but like I said, I've got this if I need it. I've got my other end. Okay, so you can kind of remove your marker at this point, and if you want to put it back in down here so that you can keep hold of it like you just were, then that is a-okay. But I mean, you've done most of the hard work already. So just carry on picking up your stitches. Keep it laid nice and flat so you can see where you want to go. Oh, went a bit far with that one, didn't I? So that you can see I'm skipping a stitch on the sleeve there, but no one's going to know. I assure you, no one will ever know. As long as it's just nice and even and smooth, you're a-okay. Although look, there was a little bump at the sleeve there, but I'm telling you, once it's on, no one's going to know. Don't stress about it too much. Worst case scenario, you have to undo it. Well, that is literally the worst case scenario. I might make it. I'm not going to have much to weave in though, am I? I might have to tie it in a little knot with the sleeve tail. Okay, I'm going to use the other tail because this one's annoying me now, getting all wound up. So just use your sleeve end, go through your first stitch. It might be useful to take that out now just so you can get that nice and snug. And carry on as you were, not got much to do now. There we go. Then what I'll probably do is tie them in a little knot together just to secure them a little bit, and then weave in this end. Weaving in ends is another thing I'm not entirely convinced I'm very good at, but here we are. I only make clothes for myself anyway, so if we get a little end poking out, I don't really care. I've never had anything unravel, touch wood. And then this one. Is this my back? Yeah, this is the back panel, so I don't mind going through the front here. Okay, then we can just snip those off. Snip, snip. And then, if we turn right side out, we can have a look at it. See, look at that. That's fine. For me, I think. That's exactly what I imagine a sleeve seam to be. What? A sleeve seam to be. Okay, so I hope that helps just show you how I join my sleeves, because I know it's one of those things that people can be scared of, but there you go. Easy peasy, all done in the space of a few minutes. And both my dogs are here now, so I think I've got to go. Thank you, bye.